Albums in the 1990s used to have intros like this. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. The Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. Yeah. The Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. The Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. This is the Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne with Kevin Dwayne.
Yo, what's good? This is Kevin Dwayne, and this is the Outline Podcast, your weekly discussion of all things entertainment, LGBT culture, and a piece of encouragement for everyone. I know that I do not say that verbatim every week. I always change it up just a little bit, but understand that the intention and the placement is still there, and you get the point of what this podcast is about. So don't at me because I don't care. No, I'm just fucking with you. But let's not bullshit any further. So apparently, allegedly, and also shared by Safaree himself. Safaree of Nicki Minaj X and Love and Hip Hop New York, LA, and hell, he's been on all of them fame. Okay, so TMZ released a story today saying that Safaree's putting his third leg to work and is paying off big time. The anaconda Nicki Minaj was allegedly obsessed with on and off for 12 years landed Safaree a 7-figure deal with one of the top sex toy makers, Doc Johnson, which proudly boasts of its 40 years in quality handcrafted sex toy game. The deal calls for Doc Johnson to create a life-size mold of Safaree's manhood. DJ will soon begin mass production, but don't whip out your credit card just yet. You gotta wait a tad longer. Pre-orders begin in December, and the toys will ship just in time for Valentine's Day. Okay, let me tell you something. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I'm probably going to be buying one of these, okay? I'm going to be purchasing it for the culture and, well, my ass. Because, listen, I have questions. So, are you guys going for the more real skin approach? Or is it just going to be silicone? Is it going to be a vibrator? Will there be sound effects? Shout out to Mwabi, who also asked this question. Will there be sound effects? Will he say things? Does it come with a packet of coconut oil? He does own a brand of that as well, too. But I have questions. Because sometimes when they do molds, and I know this from experience, y'all know I'm not afraid of y'all hoes. I say what the fuck I want to say and I keep it real. I bought toys before. And the issue with a lot of toys that are molded after like porn stars and celebrities and shit, they tend to be bigger than they're supposed to be. So it ends up being a novelty and not actually useful. I mean, granted, if y'all can take huge ass dicks, that's up to you. That's great. It's wonderful. I understand the challenge, but I do like it to be close to the actual size. And that's always been the annoying part about porn star dildos. You see it in the stores, you're like, okay, I know they're big, but they're not this fucking big. And you realize that it's honestly just for novelty. It's just to have. No, I need you guys to mold this to Safaree's dick like perfectly, okay? And shave off any extras because he's already big and you can tell. Okay, if you guys do that, I'll have my credit card ready. Just listen. You gotta be ready. You have to be ready. You have to take care of yourself. Getting myself off as a part of my self-care regimen, and I just want to add this to the routine. All right, but I do have more questions. Will there be a curve in it though? Because in the photo there was a curve, and it kind of slung towards his leg. I believe it was his right leg. Oh. Will it be more than just a dildo where you give us the whole leg, for riding purposes? That'll be kind of hot too. I mean, I know it's still in development. You guys got to figure it out and, get all that together. But I just have questions because this could be really, really big. pun intended, for, the culture. I mean, outside of porn stars, you don't really get celebs, well, I mean, he's a celeb, fuck it. You don't get celebs who we've seen dick pics of also getting toy replicas of it. So yeah, I'm very excited to be purchasing that dick. But yeah, so that's the important information. Let's get to everything else. I hope you guys are having a great week. Labor Day weekend is coming up. I hope you all are going to have a great time. If you're in Atlanta, that means you'll probably be partying or avoiding it at all costs, because I know some of you guys hate it how Atlanta gets on the weekends with all the gays here. But, if you are going to partake, have a good ass time, play safe, use condoms, make sure your prep is up to date, and just enjoy yourself. It's a good time. The last weekend, though, is what I want to talk about. Had a great time this last weekend. My best friend Christina was here for the weekend. Fan favorite of the show. She was on 2 episodes that were back to back around my birthday. Well, she visited again, and we went to check out the museums in Alabama and Montgomery, Alabama. So we checked them out on Friday. We went to the National Monument of Peace and Justice. Please forgive me if I screwed that up. I'm going off the top of my head. But it's the latest museum to be added there. It's the museum where they're honoring those who have been lynched. And it's about 4,000 monuments there. And it was very powerful. That's the best word I can use. The way it was set up was it was simplistic, but it worked in a way that really evoked a lot of emotion from visitors who've gone there. So when you walk into this monument, they first give you a breakdown of the slave trade. They explain, how we came from Africa, and there were millions of us, and they explained that whole situation. But then they talked about, abolition of slavery, and then they talked about, moving into Jim Crow, which came later. But they talked about how the resentment of slavery being abolished brought on the hatred from white people, which was already there to begin with. But they talked about lynching. At that point, you walk around the bend and you get to all of these, I guess they're like steel plaques. They're huge steel plaques. And each plaque has a county, the state, and names of the people who were lynched in that county and state. You start off eye level with these plaques. But as you walk, the ramp kind of declines. So as you continue to walk, they rise higher and higher. So the plaques rise above you. So at a certain point, these plaques are hung in the air just like people were hung during these time periods. When you get inside, there's explanations on the walls of different people who were lynched and the reasons they were lynched. And the reasons were absolutely ridiculous, and they're ridiculous. Like, you have 14 and 15-year-olds who are lynched because a white girl said that they looked threatening. You have a man who was lynched because he had a picture of a white woman in his hat. Another one where a person reported a crime to the police of a white man, and a mob came and killed him. Like, the reasons were absolutely just ludicrous and ridiculous. And you're standing there under these plaques now that are hanging above you like people hanging from trees, and you're reading these reasons, and you're just walking around, and it hits you, and it was powerful, and it really put things in perspective, especially standing in the area where lynching was so heavy. I mean, the South in general, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, all the areas in the South, all were lynching people like in heavy amounts. But just seeing it in this way really just puts it in perspective, and it just it feels like you're going to a funeral. And so that's the middle part. But when you walk outside, all the plaques are laid flat down horizontally, and it's almost like they're laid to rest. And so you go through this whole thing. You're seeing them at eye level first, so it's almost like they're still there. Then they're hanging above you, and then they're laying flat. Like, it was it was so much. It was so much to take in, and that was only the first museum we went to. There's 3 museums owned by the same foundation. So after that, we went to the, I forget the name of it, but it was the Legacy Museum. I'm sorry, the Legacy Museum. That one was all about. It also begins with slavery, but it takes you through Jim Crow and pretty much the school to prison pipeline. So it's more things to pretty much be angry about and kind of see what we've come from and what we've been through. And there they had like actual replicas of signs that they used to sell people. They had signs that restaurants would hold during Jim Crow, colored only and no niggers and all of that stuff. And then they had videos and reenactments. One that really blew my mind, when you first walk in, they have these cages next to each other. And in each cage, there's like a hologram of a slave who talks to you when you walk towards the cage. So on the far right corner, there's a woman singing, and she's singing gospel. And I think the song she was singing is "I Might Not Make It Through the Night" or something like that. Or "If I don't make it through the night, just know that God has me." It was something along the lines of that. And then next to her are these 2 children whispering for their mother and saying, "Hey, have you seen my mother?" Next to there is a woman explaining what it was like coming over from Africa. Next to that is the mother of the kids who are calling for her. And she's like, "Have you seen my babies?" And it was mind blowing. We were just sitting there this is so much. But the museum, the museum was great. And then the final museum we went to was a memorial of those who died during the civil rights movement. So it was MLK and the 4 little girls, and it was specifically for them. And then it even had a current civil rights or current equal rights situation where they had trans people, and I thought that was very impressive. They had trans people who have been killed, and people have been killed for just trying to push history forward, and push things forward. So those 3 places really made me grateful. They really made me grateful because, wow, the things that our people went through and still go through, but just because of hatred and because of just white supremacy and, oh my God, privilege. And it's just, we've died for the most trivial things, and we still do. And to see that slavery has only evolved over time. It went into Jim Crow, and it went into basically being sold as prisoners and doing work in prisons, and now being in a prison. That's money. That's money for the nation. And being in prison is still feeding people, you know what I mean? So it's just slavery's only evolved into now. And you think to yourself, 20 years from now, what will it be? If not prison, what will it be then? And it's just, it really makes you think, but it also makes you grateful for your own personal freedom, as limited as it may be. And it definitely had me on some, okay, because of all that my ancestors and the people that came before me went through, it makes me want to work harder and do more with the resources that I have, because people were killed for even using the little resources they had then. There are people who were lynched for setting up voting groups, or for even voting, or for being successful, or for anything of the sort. The smallest thing would get you killed. So at present, I need to be living my best life, as cliche as that is now. I need to be doing whatever it is I can do with the resources I have to push the culture forward and to really bring honor to those who lost their lives for less. But yeah, so it was definitely an experience. We drove from Atlanta to Alabama in it was 3 hours. We hit up there pretty quick, and we got there, went through the 3 museums in about 2.5, 3 hours. And then we came right back to Atlanta, and it ended up being a really, really great weekend with Christina here. I also went to go see On the Run 2. So I've been asked my thoughts on it. So I've seen Beyonce a few times. The first time I ever saw Beyonce was with Destiny's Child in 2001. They opened up for Christina Aguilera. That was my very first concert ever. It was during her first album. This is back when Come On Over was really, really big. I remember the tour was sponsored by Levi. It was at the Gibson Amphitheater, but it was called the Universal Amphitheater back then. And I believe Gibson is now closed. It doesn't even exist anymore. But that's where it was. It was my first show. And I remember Soul Decision, Destiny's Child opened up for Christina. So that was my first time seeing Destiny's Child. And I remember it being cool. Kelly had sprained like her ankle. So I remember she was sitting on a stool. Solange was one of their dancers, and Michelle. So it was Michelle, Solange, and Beyonce dancing, and Kelly was sitting on a stool just singing along. And this is when Writings on the Wall was really, really hot. So I remember that show. First time seeing her. My second time seeing Beyonce was with Destiny's Child again in 2005, and that was during the Destiny Fulfilled tour. That was an excellent show. Really, really enjoyed that. Third time seeing her was during the Beyonce Experience. That was after B-Day. So this was like 2000, I want to say 2007, 2008. Because it was summer. So definitely 2007. Because I do remember I was with a certain person. 2007 for sure. Summer. I believe it was September. So that was the third time I saw Beyonce. Fourth time seeing Beyonce was Formation Tour. I didn't go to a show from then until Formation. Formation was amazing. So speed up to On the Run 2. Now, I've seen all of her shows as far as like concerts on DVD and stuff like that. Big performances. So On the Run 2 was different because I saw On the Run 1 when it came on HBO. And I'm at a point now where Beyonce definitely evokes perfection to me. Like, she literally puts on perfect shows, like perfect shows. And Jay-Z also is a pretty good performer. So I remember buying the ticket and being like, okay, I'm excited, but it was more or less like a fear of missing out. Like, I want to go so I can see if there's anything, different about it. Definitely was excited to see that they were performing songs from Everything Is Love. They performed 3 songs from Everything Is Love at the Atlanta show. They performed Nice, they performed Black Effect, and they performed Ape Shit. One of my favorite moments of the show was Beyonce closed out her verse in Ape Shit. Like, she wrote that shit so good. Like, Beyonce is a dope ass rapper. Like the way she delivered that flow live was so hard. That was literally my favorite part, and it was the end of the night. But the show itself was perfection. It was absolutely perfect. It was great. The set was big and beautiful, just like Formation, but it was like larger scale since it was 2 of them. So it was 2 huge pillars with stuff in the middle, and they were pretty much bringing together Jay-Z's tour and Beyonce's Formation tour together in one. And I really enjoy how they had a stage that lifted up over the crowd, so it moved. And I thought that was great how they're dancing full power and the stage is moving over the crowd like pretty slowly. And like, it was amazing visually, and it was stunning. Like, it was a great show. I have no complaints about the show itself. It's a great live showing, but here's the thing. I've come to expect that from Beyonce and of Jay-Z too. I mean, I don't want to slide him either, because Jay-Z is kind of a perfectionist as well. But I've come to expect that. So it's kind of like, okay, I saw another great show. But I will say, I left the show feeling as though I think I'm cool on Beyonce and Jay-Z shows. Like, now, since I've seen B enough, I'm in a place where I'm like, you know what? I can put this money elsewhere as far as like traveling, as far as other concerts and stuff like that. Because I mean, the price point of a B show has lifted, she's in her prime. So, it can be pretty costly to get the seats you want. And I sat in the first section, like the 100s, and I had a really, really good seat. It was an amazing view. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I kind of left with like, that was a great show, but it wasn't kind of like Formation I thought about for days on end after it was over. This show, it was kind of like, that was dope. I watched a few clips on Instagram, but it's not like I have to see it again. It was perfect. It was perfect. It was great. But if you've seen enough Beyonce shows, you know the choreography. It's the same. You know how she's going to sing the songs. That's the same. Like, a lot of her stuff is the same at this point. So it's kind of like, I think I'm good. Like, I'll always be a fan of Beyonce, and I look forward to what she has in the future. But I think I'm cool on the shows for now because I know what I'm going to get. And it's like that with any artist. If you see them enough, you know what you're going to get. I've seen Janet a few times, and the shows have been the same. And it's great. But after a while, you got to tap out. Now, I will say, if she puts out a fire-ass album that I absolutely love, I'll definitely be there again. Or if time goes by and it's like a comeback tour years from now, yeah, that'll be different. But right now, I just feel like I'm cool. Like, the show was really, really good. Like I said, it was perfection. She performed her ass off. She sang live. But like I said, we've come to expect that from B. This is what we expect from her. So it was kind of like, well, duh, this is what B does. She's a perfectionist. She gives you production. She gives you, it's kind of like seeing Cirque du Soleil over and over and over again. You know it's going to be amazing, but after a while you're like, okay, I've seen you jump through this hoop so many times and it's great, but I'd rather do something else. So that's kind of how it was. I definitely got my life. I enjoyed it, but I think I'm cool moving forward on shows. I mean, unless of course they're free, or I'm being invited, or she just really changes something else. But usually when artists get to this level, they don't really change much because they don't have to change much. Like, it's already etched out. I would rather go see some newer artists and see how their live showings are, or, you know, go to more intimate shows and go to smaller shows of smaller artists where there's a little more feeling and passion. And Beyonce definitely gives you passion, but it's different. It's different than going to like a Jasmine Sullivan or a Jill Scott or a Maxwell. You know what I mean? Like, you get a different kind of feel of intimacy. Beyonce gives you production. And I'm cool for now. Like, I'm cool. Like, it's been really, really fun, and I'm always going to be a fan, but I think this is going to be my last show for a minute. Unless, of course, she drops a fire-ass album, and I just love it so much that I have to see the live renderings up close. But it was great. Chloe and Haley opened up for her. Man, Chloe, she did well in picking them. Their talent is amazing and is only getting better. I was so impressed at their live vocals, their energy, their outfits. They're so cute. The music's so good. I love their album, and they did very, very well. DJ Khaled's set was okay. He opened up for Formation, and that was a far better set, in my opinion. It just seemed a little like more lively. Saturday, they had some mic issues, so you couldn't hear people. Monica came on. You could not hear Monica at all. She came out, poor girl. She was singing So Gone, I believe, but you couldn't hear her. Like, the audience pretty much had to sing it for her, and she was trying so hard to project, and you just couldn't hear her. King Combs, which is Sean Combs' son, came out, did his little song that he has featuring Chris Brown. CeeLo Green was there. Ludacris and JD also came out. Ludacris was lit though. I enjoyed Ludacris a lot. Ludacris, like, he did Move Bitch. He did his verse on All I Do Is Win. And there was one other song he did. I can't remember, but the energy was lit. Oh, Welcome to Atlanta. Hearing Welcome to Atlanta in Atlanta was everything. That was a lit ass moment. And then Freeway, who used to be on Rockefeller back in the day, came out and did a little bit of stuff. Actually, don't get me the line. He did his verse from a popular song from back in the early 2000s. But DJ Khaled was cool, but I've seen better showings from him at Formation. Sunday, from the videos I saw on IG, seemed to be pretty lit. So that was cool. They had the same lineup, but this time they had Lil Duval and I believe August Alsina, Neo, and there were some other people too. And it seemed like Sunday's crowd was a little more lit too. But both shows were sold out. Both were amazing. And it was, I love going to shows, seeing how it's great being in the presence of a bunch of people who are there for the same reason. And that energy is just super, super dope to just kind of feel all around. So great show. On the Run 2 is perfection. Definitely, if you're going to go see it, you'll have a good time. But if you've seen Beyonce enough, after a while, you're kind of like, okay, you're perfect. Let's move on. So that's my review of the show. Excellent, but I'm good for now. And yeah, so I'm gonna have a quick little therapy session because I need to figure this out. So last night I had this dream, and it put me back in my childhood home, but it was in present time. Like, my mother, who has passed on, was there. My sister was there at current. My nephew was there. And I think I got like my aunt was there. And it was weird because there was like an argument between me and my sister. And there was like all this strife going on, like with my family. But then I woke up. And it had me thinking to myself, like, oh, you know what? I need to reach out to some of my family. And it had me really thinking about family in general. So I don't know if you guys have caught on, but I don't really have, choosing my words very wisely here, I don't have the tightest bond with my family. Like, we all love each other from afar, okay? There's a lot of kind of disconnection and a lot of pathology and a lot of shit that goes on in my family. For one, there's a divide between my grandmother's two husbands. Her first husband, she had, I want to say, 3 or 4 kids by. Then her second husband, she had another 3 or 4 kids by. And the kids actually created this kind of, I want to say war, but there's kind of like this versus that's happening between the two fathers' kids, and it's gone on for generations, and it still goes on to this day. Now, in recent history, there was a family reunion that happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I literally sat here and cried looking at the pictures because I saw the whole family together, and I've not seen that in years. I've not seen that since my grandmother's 92nd birthday, and that was like, I may be off here. I want to say like 2005, 2006. That was the last time I seen a lot of these people together. Now, don't get me wrong, funerals aren't included. So yeah, they came to the funerals and stuff, but like on a joyous occasion, you know? That was the last time that both sides were there and everybody was there. So it was amazing to see that, you know? So yeah, it was amazing to see that. But it also, it has me thinking about my own personal connection with family. Like I said, this is like a therapy session for me because I'm just venting and figuring this shit out. I do know that I left Los Angeles and I moved to Atlanta. So I don't necessarily expect people to check on me, and they definitely don't. Like, that's real. My family doesn't check on me. And it's no shade. It's no shade. Like, we're friends on Facebook. We're friends on Instagram. They like pictures. I like pictures. But we leave it at that. But as far as like actual phone calls, nah. Text messages, nah. I mean, I have one cousin. Shout out to Rolanda. Love you to pieces. And I also have another one, Keitra. Keitra, she keeps in touch too. They'll hit me up if something big happens. If someone passes away or there's a new baby, something huge, they'll reach out and say, okay, I just want to let you know that this is happening. But I also know that it's also my responsibility to reach out to my family too and kind of keep things going. And I haven't been the best at that, because family has always been an interesting thing to me. If you are close to me, you know that I believe that respect is earned and not just given. Like, you have to respect me to get respect back. And I know that because of who I am as a gay Black man and my own personal experiences, it has caused people to not really understand me and not get me. And I honestly never really gave a fuck. So it was easy for me to be like, all right, I'm out. to move across the nation and just build a whole nother life here. I put a lot into my closest friends, and that's why I love them so much and I speak so highly of them, because I feel like they have shown themselves to me, and they have shown themselves to be good and shown themselves to be beneficial, and I have no problem sharing that back. I've never been the person who says just because we share blood means I have to treat you better. I don't believe that, because guess what? I didn't have a choice in that matter. And that doesn't mean that because we are blood related, you get to treat me any old way and I just let you back in. Nah, fuck that. Like, I'm good. I don't look at family that way. But I will say I do have a lot of memories that are tied to family that make me a little remorseful. Like, damn, like, once upon a time, this used to be lit. Like, even like my sister, like my oldest sister, like, we're cool. Don't get me wrong. When I went to LA in April, like, we met up and it was a good time. But growing up, I used to spend all my time with my older sisters, like, to the point that people used to think I was their kid. You know, like, I was always with them, always hanging out, always just taking in all of, you know, their lifestyles and stuff like that. And now we don't even talk regularly. And that's so crazy to me. Like, it's so weird, and time is going by so fast. Like, my older sisters and brothers are all like approaching 50. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, it blows my mind. And just to see these people who used to be in their 20s when I was a kid, and now seeing them get older, it's like, nah, like, I'm missing out on so many things. And seeing my nieces and nephews get older and have kids, and I'm here in Atlanta and they're in California, and it's a little, I can't say it's hurtful because I'm okay, but I don't want to regret anything in the future. So I'm actively thinking about, like, okay, how do I fix this? Like, I do wish that I had better travel, I guess, benefits, or more disposable income so I can get back to LA regularly, because I don't go back regularly. I don't go back for holidays. I don't go back for really anything. But I need to, and it's something I need to consider. I need to put that into the universe. I need to get over there, because I don't want to miss all of these moments. And like, when people pass away and I'm over here, all I can think about is the last time that I saw them. I don't think I mentioned this on the show, but when I was out there in April, the weekend I got there, like the day after I got there, so once again, my aunt raised me. So my aunt's oldest son, who I claim as my brother, he died the day after I got there in April. And all I could think about was the last time I saw him or even talked to him. The last time I saw him and talked to him was in 2012, before my mother's funeral, because he left right after, and so did I. And then he reached out to me on Facebook and just said, hey, just wanted to say hey and see how you're doing. And I responded back and asked him how he was doing. And that was that. And that was maybe like 2013 on Facebook. But I had not physically seen or talked to him since 2012. Now, to be fair, he and I are both very independent. Like, he lived away from family, and so, you know, and I do as well. So the disconnection was definitely there. But I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't want this to continue happening. I don't want years to go by where I don't see people that I literally grew up with, and then something happens to them and it's literally just me recollecting the last time I saw them or talked to them and wondering if it was pleasant. And it's literally me dealing with my own decisions and taking accountability for them, you know, because I made the choice to move to Atlanta. When my mother died, my father died, and my grandmother died, and I lost my job, I took it as a sign that there was nothing left for me in Los Angeles. So I got out of there, and I couldn't afford it, so I moved here. But I built a life here to where this is where home is now. But I have a whole set of memories and a whole set of family that's in California that I just don't get to regularly. And it's starting to pull on me a little bit. It's starting to weigh on me a little bit because I gotta mend that gap. And I know, I take responsibility for my separation, but I gotta find a good middle ground so that I'm not missing things. Now, I did talk to my cousins who set up the family reunion that happened a few weeks ago. They reached out to me probably a week before it happened. They're like, hey, Kevin, this is very last minute and we know you won't be able to make this one. But just to let you know, we're trying to get the family back together and we're going to make this an annual thing. We will have the date of next year's to you before year's end. That way it will give you enough time to get your stuff together so that you can be here for the next family reunion. And that made me feel so good because it really took some people in our family to say, okay, let's stop this shit and let's start getting together for a good reason. And seeing the pictures of the first reunion, I'll say 2.0, really it really touched me because it was so many people there. And I hope that they really keep that same energy moving forward. I really hope that next year is the same thing, and I totally plan to be there because I really want to close this gap. Like I do miss my family, and I do want to be a family guy again, and I haven't been for a while. And I think it's because of my own way of grieving my mother and the pain of the things that happened right after she passed. And it's time. It's definitely time. And yeah. So thank you for listening. That definitely helped me put everything in perspective. Like this literally was therapy for me. I just talked myself through it and already feel better. So thank you all for listening. And if you have comments, feel free to let me know. Thank you so much for all of you who have slid in my DM to let me know that you enjoy the show and that it's been helpful and that you've been connecting. Please continue sharing it with your friends, tagging me on Twitter, leaving comments on SoundCloud, rating it on Apple Podcasts, give it 5 stars or whatever the top number is, and also leave your review. I love seeing the reviews and I love the love that you guys are sending me. And thank you so much for listening every week. And with that said, peace out.